Just stay in the light.
The movie opens by introducing us to the town of Darkness Falls, where a woman named Matilda Dixon lived over a century ago. Matilda was adored by the town's children. Whenever one of them lost a tooth, they would bring it to her in exchange for a gold coin, earning her the name the Tooth Fairy. One night, fire tore through her home on Lighthouse Point, leaving her face horribly scarred, disfigured, and with an extreme sensitivity to light. She wore a mask, which was made out of teeth, and only went out at night. One day, 2 of the town's young boys went missing, and the fact she wore a mask and only came out at night, due to suffering severe burns from a fire that burned down her home that left her sensitive to light, made the adults suspicious. Although there was no real evidence, the townsfolk quickly blamed Matilda. In a fit of mob justice, they dragged her out. They hanged her, tearing off her mask, exposing her hideous face to the light. And with her dying breath, Matilda laid a curse upon Darkness Falls. Soon after her death, the missing children returned unharmed, but it was too late. Darkness Falls was forever cursed. The town buried their secret along with Matilda's body. Over the next 150 years, the story of the Tooth Fairy was born. The vengeful spirit of Matilda Dixon would visit the home of children in Darkness Falls, the night they lost their last baby tooth. Twisted by hatred and rage, she marks them for death, seeking her vengeance on any who lay their eyes upon her face, fulfilling her curse.
What I took before in kindness, I will take forever in revenge.
The film shifts to the story of Kyle Walsh, a young boy living in Darkness Falls. One night, after losing his last baby tooth, he wakes after a horrific nightmare and finds it hard to fall asleep after hearing stories of Matilda. Sensing Matilda's presence, he takes a flashlight to bed with him. As he tries to sleep, he hears a raspy breath over his bed and dares to peek his eyes. He sees the masked face of Matilda herself. Kyle shines the flashlight into her eyes, causing her to shriek in pain. His mother wakes up upon hearing the disturbing sounds and looks after Kyle.
I saw her. Kyle!
His mother assures him that there is nothing to be afraid of. As Kyle's mother goes to investigate, she tries to reassure him that there is nobody else in the house and everything is safe. That when Matilda attacks and kills Kyle's mother, hearing of his mother's death, he hides in the bathroom with the lights on, preventing Matilda from reaching him. Considering Matilda is now an unstoppable rage that will attack and kill anyone who lays eyes on her, it's fair to say that any sanity she may have had was lost long ago. The next morning, the police arrive, and due to mistaken speculations that he killed his mother, Kyle is taken to a psychiatric institution. 12 years later, Kyle has left Darkness Falls and moved to Las Vegas, a city in the middle of the desert thousands of miles away from Darkness Falls, with lots of light sure sounded like a safe place to stay away from the Tooth Fairy. Kyle continues to suffer from severe paranoia following his encounter with Matilda, relying on a stockpile of flashlights and a mix of medications to manage his anxiety, depression, and chronic sleep disorders in fear of Matilda finishing what was started many years before. Meanwhile, back in Darkness Falls, Caitlin Green, Kyle's childhood friend and former love interest, is desperate. Her younger brother, Michael, has developed the same paralyzing fear of the dark that Kyle once had. Believing that Kyle might understand what Michael is going through, Caitlin reaches out to him for help. Reluctantly, Kyle returns to Darkness Falls, facing both his own personal demons and the skeptical townspeople who still remember him as the troubled boy accused of his mother's death. Kyle visits Michael at the hospital, which Michael told him made him realize the situation.
Sometimes I think of turning off all the lights and letting her come and take me.
The two reunited, and Caitlin asked Kyle about his past, which he denies has any relation to his condition. But when Caitlin shows the pictures Michael drew, Kyle makes a flashback of it and asks her if Michael lost a last tooth. She still believes that the legend of Matilda Dixon is just a story, one which they were all told as children, but a story nonetheless. Kyle leaves and is told that coming back to Darkness Falls is a mistake, but is held up by another childhood friend, Larry, and asks him for a drink at the inn. At the bar, Everyone in town except Caitlin believes Kyle murdered his mother.
That's the freak who killed his mother.
A feeling of discomfort and insecurity Kyle experiences is that something is lurking in every dark corner. A guy named Ray from the bar harasses Kyle while he and Larry were just minding their own business, then tries to provoke him by calling him.
You want a piece? Come on, take a shot.
Kyle doesn't mind him and walks away, but he was followed by Ray and tackles him. The two tumbled down in darkness and had a fight. But when Kyle beats him, he looks in the same direction as Kyle was and gets a glimpse of Matilda above in a tree. Realizing that the Tooth Fairy is nearby, Kyle flees in a hurry. Ray, on the other hand, is still looking for a fight, not knowing that death is on its way. Seeing Matilda's face is what guarantees death. Kyle goes back to Caitlin in the hospital and tells her that Michael is fine.
Don't give him any more tests.
Kyle is immediately arrested for murder based entirely on the fact that he's on antipsychotic medication.
I don't know much about medicine, but it occurs to me that if a man is taking antipsychotics, it might be because he has a tendency to become, well, psychotic.
The authorities, particularly Sheriff Lowen, are suspicious of Kyle. With the help of Caitlin and his childhood friend, who is now his lawyer, Kyle is released in the morning. That day also, Michael's therapist talked to Caitlin about a therapy that Michael was going to undergo.
Michael is placed in a sensory deprivation chamber.
Michael hates the dark.
That's the point.
Kyle goes straight to a hardware store and buys as many light sources as possible, including flashlights, lanterns, and flares, and asks Larry to take him to the hospital before the sun goes down. However, Kyle notices they headed in the wrong direction.
I'm not taking you back to the hospital.
And told him that Michael will undergo a deprivation tank.
Putting him in a sensory dep tank.
They're gonna put him in the dark.
We're gonna fix him. Stop him from becoming the next Kyle Walsh.
Going to shut the lights out, showing him there's nothing to be scared of. But Kyle insists at gunpoint that he will take him to the hospital. That's when something happens. The car struck a tree, making Kyle fly out from the car, but leaving Larry inside unharmed. When he tries to free himself, a growling sound can be heard above.
Larry, don't look at her!
But it's too late. Matilda will kill anyone who is near her intended victims. Larry is dead, and there is nothing he can do for him. He immediately takes the car and heads back to Darkness Falls Hospital. Before Michael is totally consumed by the darkness, Kyle stops the ongoing sensory deprivation process just in time, but was arrested the second time again. Kyle is arrested and locked in the police station, blamed for bringing chaos back to the town. Kyle tells Officer Matt Henry that Larry is killed by the Tooth Fairy and that the stories from when they were just kids about the Tooth Fairy are true. But nobody believes him. A thunderstorm blacks out the whole town, which causes the police station to run on backup power. With limited lights and flashlights, and of course, evil lurks in the dark. They soon face Matilda's wrath. It has caused her to become more active, revealing herself to anyone in sight. Matilda is floating around the station to pick off her victims one by one, and killing most of them in her quest to get Kyle. Kyle barely survives another attack by the Tooth Fairy. Meanwhile, Caitlin struggles to protect her brother Michael, who insists that something evil lurks in the darkness. They make a run for it, but Matilda chases and corners them. Kyle rescues them just in time, and helped by several medical personnel along the way. As darkness falls over the hospital, and the generators start to fail, panic arises. In a desperate attempt to save themselves, they carefully moved, using whatever light they could muster to keep Matilda at bay. However, it takes only one fatal mistake. The only way to keep Matilda off your back. She avoids any area that's well lit enough and attacks her targets in the dark. Matilda is a super persistent predator. Even if it takes decades, she still remembers. Luckily, they were rescued by Officer Matt Henry, who came with a police car. The only light left that can still shine is the lighthouse, located on the distant edge of the village's coastline, where they have to turn on the light to end Matilda permanently.
It's got a gasoline-powered backup system. We light that and we're in business.
Someone suggests that they can just leave town because they're safe in the car. However, the killer Tooth Fairy proves him wrong. Matilda smashes in through the window and drags him off. Upon arrival, they immediately fill the gas tank, but it won't start. They soon find out that the fuel line has a leak. They try to fix it, but their lamp is slowly fading. And the next thing happens.
Get back in the light.
Matilda drags Henry and Kyle falls down. Above, Caitlin and Michael are all alone when Matilda smashes the window and gets a grip on Caitlin. Upon seeing this, Kyle throws the lamp at her, which causes Caitlin to lose her balance and fall down. By this time, the light is losing fast. Kyle is desperately reaching the switch as Matilda is also reaching him. Fortunately, Michael manages to hit the switch. Now the power is restored and the lighthouse beacon is activated. It weakens Matilda's spirit and somewhat disappears. Kyle assures them that everything is now okay. However, the Tooth Fairy appeared from nowhere and grabbed Kyle from above. In a dramatic moment, he tears off her porcelain mask, revealing the full extent of her horrific, burned face and all her victims for the past century. The sudden exposure to light causes Matilda excruciating pain. Matilda attempts to jam her thumb into his eye socket. Kyle Walsh finally defeats her by setting his right sleeve on fire and striking her face with it. The searing light consumed her whole, setting free her wicked soul as her spirit was engulfed in flame. Matilda was destroyed, and her curse was finally brought to an end.